Welcome to Phipps Talk. We're back with you. Lots of new exciting things for the season. We hope that you spend the entire season with us. We have today a very special program for you with a very special guest. This young lady is a face to the city and a very active force in media. Her name is Dayla Arabella Santurri, and I would like to ask Dayla a few questions that will help you to get to know her better, and the things that she does in and around the city that would make your life, can make your life pretty exciting as she shares with us some of the things that she does. Dayla, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Today we're going to talk about a couple things. One, you as a business person, entrepreneur, and then we're going to talk about some of the things you do in terms of organization and the organizations you support, and some of the major functions that you promote or support in the Boston area, and why our audience should think of being part of that activity every time it occurs.
Sounds good.
Good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So first, tell me a little bit about you. You're a very active young lady in many circles. So where did this energy come from, and what motivates you in that direction? And tell us a little bit about that. How did you get your start?
Oh, how did I get my start? You know, when I went to Northeastern, so I was a kind of a Boston girl since I was 18, which was an interesting way to grow up in the city, and I became so enamored with the fabric and so much that we have here. I mean, it's certainly not New York, but it has all the benefits of a big city, and it's cleaner. Cleaner and more fun. But I loved the arts and the culture, and the fact that we had wonderful opera, beautiful symphonies here, comedy clubs, everything you can name it in the arts was represented here. And our proximity to New York really gave us exposure to so many artists that came traveling through. So I went to Northeastern as a political science major, took a brief co-op to Washington, D.C. I worked for Joe Kennedy for a brief amount of time when he was representing the 8th District down there. Came back, finished Northeastern, was on my way to law school, decided to go to Europe, and it changed the game. I said, I realized I don't want to be a lawyer. I wanted to do something more.
More fun and entertaining?
Yeah, I wanted to do something more interesting. And when I was in college, I worked with a lot of nonprofits. I volunteered a lot of my time, and I really got to see what people were doing. And it was when you're 18, 19, 20, 21, you really have a unique vantage point because you're not so kind of entrenched into business models and this is how it's done. So it was a very interesting way to begin the thought of how I would do my own business by helping not only nonprofits but for-profits do things better.
That's interesting. That area of youth development you were talking about, 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
People are thinking they can conquer the world. There's nothing to stop them. So your vision is wide open, and your possibilities. That's a great way to go.
Yeah.
So now there's a very interesting switch though between heading to the political arena, political science, and changing to now the entertainment. One is a more, in my thought, serious, regimented, controlled, disciplined environment. But you've now elected to be in another space. Tell me a little bit more about that space and that transition and the trip to Europe. What may have been the catalyst for that?
I think really at heart, I wasn't really into politics. And I wasn't an artist, although I played piano for a little while. But I was a business person, and I knew that as a very young person, that I would constantly look at things like a Rubik's Cube, showing my age there, but and say, this could be done better. We could do this. You could just, how about we try this? There's less exposure. What about if we all teamed up together and try and put our resources together? So it was really interesting, and I'm so happy. And I always tell young people, make sure you volunteer, because not only do you help an organization that needs it, you learn a measurable amount of skills on essentially someone else's dime.
Yes.
So anyway, long story short, I actually got hired by Hilton Hotels to run Sculler's Jazz Club, which most people in the city seem to know that place, and I did that for 10 years. And that was an interesting, and that was putting really both of my sides of the brain together. It was, the talent buying and the running of a club, but also it was Hilton. It was owned by Hilton. So there was a business priority. You had owners and spreadsheets and all these things that you needed to be responsible for. And I was on the young side. So I said, we'll just learn by doing here. It was the best education. And while I was there, I started doing some consulting on the side. And it's been about 18 months now, I said, I think it's time for me to just completely do it my way and go on my own, and started Dayla Arabella Inc.
Wow. Now that's the beginning of what's the potential to be a large, as they say in slang, a ginormous organization with your energy behind it. And I'm looking forward to that growth and development. It's interesting. I've heard lots about Scholars as a entertainment facility, and I've been promising to go there and enjoy some of it. So now that I know the quality I can expect based on your expertise, I will definitely make it a point to get out.
Oh, you definitely should. I think everybody should. It's such a great institution in Boston. It represents so much of the things that Boston can present and that other cities and towns just can't do.
I have a young lady, a friend, Pat Braxton, who I guess has performed
sure,
there.
yeah, I know her and Jim.
And she's invited me over on 1 or 2 occasions, but it so happens whenever she invites me, I'm in Washington, D.C. or somewhere else, but we'll try to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Now, getting back to you and the excitement that you create, now, how long was your trip to Europe and sort of with the transition after you came back, or did
I started thinking about this was on and off for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
On and off for about 3 years. I'd come back for a little bit, go back, come back. It was just one of those things. There's so much out there, and I think that if you have that opportunity to travel, you certainly don't have to go to Europe, but to just see as much as you can, just to see what is out there, and make sure that as a young person that you're not, pigeonhole yourself into something, and even if you find yourself, you did that, take on pet projects so you round yourself out.
Learn in the process.
What do they say in business? Cast the widest net.
Yes.
And I think to this day, in fact, I had an intern, I had someone from BU who's going to graduate this year and said, "Can I, interview you?" I said, "Sure." And she was more interested in the media strategy part of what I do.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Are you going to get credit for this? Is there anything you need?" She goes, "No. I just want to talk to you. I saw your website, and I thought, wow, that's so great. She's not getting credit for this. And it was a half an hour, and I thought, okay, I committed to the half hour. I had to do it." And it flew by. She had such great questions.
Yes.
And I thought, what a great thing that this young person is doing. She knew, she found people in the industry that she either found on the website or Googled or whatever, and asked them, could I interview you and try to impart some of your knowledge of what her next step should be.
Wow,
that's a great way of, even if you find yourself pigeonholed, surround yourself with people who are in different walks of life.
There's always opportunity to explore.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Now, most people, and we do a lot on the program about entrepreneurship and business development, small business development. What did you find were some of the challenges that you encountered as you started thinking about developing your own business, sort of stepping out on your own, and sort of what was that experience like for you?
Well, I think the first thing, I had a job since I was 15 and a half. The minute you could get a permit to work for a minute, I got a job. So it was only, 18 months ago was the first time in my life where on Thursday you didn't just automatically get a paycheck.
Yes.
That's the first challenge. You go to these seminars about entrepreneurship, and they don't tell you the most basic things, like if you don't work, you don't make any money, and you have to figure out how to pay your bills. That's the scary part to me. What also is kind of interesting is your skill set, what you feel confident in taking. Mm-hmm. And I learned very young. I had great building block kind of gigs when I was younger, and I used to joke all the time. I never really I really never started a job that I knew anything I was doing. I always said yes, and then said, okay, we're going to learn by doing here, which is a great education in itself. Yeah. And in a way, don't be afraid to take something on. you know, don't hesitate. You know, I had a new client come last week and say, in their religious organization, and I said, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't really represented religious organizations before, but I'll try, and I'll